And we do want to start with that crash on 35W. Nicole Jacobs is at the scene. And Nicole, this is truly a horrifying scene, and it stretches for miles with a lot of victims.
Absolutely, Karen. Fort Worth police this morning can confirm there are at least 5 people who have been killed in this crash, and they say at least 100 vehicles are involved. If you take a look here behind me, you can see emergency crews still working to untangle and tow away many of the vehicles that were involved in this crash. And I can tell you also, they say at least they have made contact with everyone still trapped in their vehicles, even though they haven't been able to rescue all of them. But it's the pictures and the video that truly tell the story and the impact of this tragedy, one that has never been seen amongst emergency officials who have worked for their agencies for more than 20 years. Trailers, SUVs stacked on top of each other. This pileup is estimated to be at least a mile long here on 35W. A sheet of ice. When emergency crews got the call around 6 a.m. this morning, they had to use sand and ice melt just to bar it travels, how far it goes. It's just absolutely incredible. I can tell you also that with the rescues and rescuing the trapped people and towing away all of the mangled vehicles, cleaning up this debris, it's something that will take some time. Officials say that you should definitely avoid this area, but if you don't have to go out today, they say stay inside because this investigation will also take some time. Karen, back into you.
I can only imagine, Nicole. Thank you.
Just crashed over there.
And then they get you into the industry by working with employers that hire those that just got their training and certification. They're not accredited, and grants are available.
Oh, he's gonna crash into them.
3%.
Holy. Holy.
But classes start soon.
Oh.
Nothing to lose, everything to gain.
Oh.
Listen to the fans.
Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down.
1053 the fans.
Here goes another one. Oh.
The round man with a square D.
Boom. Oh my goodness.
We have transported about 36 people so far from this scene. We've used 14 ambulances, and currently we have our ambulance on scene. The victims were taken to area hospitals based on an assignment from the Medical Command Center on which hospital was able to take the next series of patients. The serious and critical patients were taken to area trauma centers. The patients with lesser injuries were taken to outlying hospitals so we did not overload our downtown hospitals. One of the mitigating factors here was that we almost had two different scenes. So ambulances that arrived on scene from north of the accident transported patients to hospitals on the north side of Fort Worth. Ambulances that arrived from the south transported patients to the south. This is a very complex scene. We cannot thank the Fort Worth Fire Department, Fort Worth Police Department, TxDOT. Even for the first responders here, walking is treacherous. We were very fortunate that we were able to get a couple of buses from the fire department to actually put some of the victims of the crash who were not patients but could have become patients because of hypothermia into the bus so they got out of the cold environment. And that's one of the things we worry about with the first responders. So part of what we're doing here currently is making sure that we've got medical personnel here for the first responders, because this is a very difficult environment to be working in. We want to make sure that they're safe, that they're not experiencing hypothermia. So we've got some rehab capabilities for them as well, and on medical standby.
Just real quick, have you ever seen anything to this extent that required this amount of MedStar units?
You know, I've been with MedStar for 12 years in Fort Worth and have not seen anything like this. And quite frankly, for many of us, this is a career event. Many of us have been in this profession for a very long time. We train for this type of a scenario, but you never really expect it to happen. But thank goodness for the training, and I think one of the reasons why the departments worked so well together and that we were able to do what we were able to do here today and the rest of the day is because of the relationship and the joint training that we've done to be able to manage these types of scenes.
Was the accident on the toll area? That's why maybe the cars didn't have space to go?
It does. I'm going to let Danny actually talk about the actual location of the crash and that kind of thing.
Any more questions?
Have you gotten to all of the people who've been trapped in their cars?
We've been able to do some assessments of them, but we have not been able to fully get to all of the people that have been involved in the crash.
And so they're still in their vehicles?
There are some people that we still need to get to.
And with it being so cold, hypothermia is obviously a concern.
It's a concern, plus the trauma from the crash is still a concern, which is why we know there are some fatalities. But again, until we start untangling all the vehicles, we just don't know.
So I can tell you that there is heavy damage, major damage to many of those vehicles up on scene. It was difficult to get to a lot of the vehicles that we had to get to. It is a very large incident, very resource heavy. So we are, like Matt said, we are working through front to back to front, making sure that every driver, every person in every car is accounted for.
I spoke with Matt earlier, and he said he could not pinpoint where the crash started, or have you been able to pinpoint that at this point?
Yeah, that'll be...
Well, first of all, I would like to ask everyone to please keep in your prayers the families who have lost a loved one in this massive fatality accident. Again, in my almost 20 years in the service, this is the first time ever that I see anything like this in Fort Worth. We have an amazing support from many other city departments, the community members, and our friends from the media. So keep those victims in your prayers. The call came in at about 6 a.m. Reporting of a major accident, and then officers responded, as well as other first responders responded right away. We had to shut down the freeway just due to the massive accident. It is going to take a long time to fully investigate the factors involving this accident. It is very important, again, to keep those families who were directly affected by losing a loved one in this tragic incident. We have plenty of investigators that are walking the whole incident scene, and it is going to take a very lengthy time to have a full and complete report.
How far back does the crash go?
From one of the supervisors on scene, he actually told me for him it looks like a mile long. So it is pretty long. Again, we don't have an exact amount of vehicles, but we're estimating between 75 up to 100 vehicles, maybe more. Again, we're going to take all the time possible to keep everyone safe, especially the ones that are still inside of their vehicles. And we are working with all the family members to reunite everyone involved with their loved ones at one of our city community centers.
And with the amount of ice that was here this morning, there was really no way of preventing or avoiding this situation, it seems.
Well, in the past days, we kept using our social media platforms to remind drivers, be mindful. Distance, speed, wear your seatbelt. All those factors come in play when you have even a minor accident. Now, can you imagine having this massive accident? It is going to play a factor. So this weather has not changed, and I don't think it's going to change in the next days. So please, everyone watching this news conference, keep that in mind. Stay safe and keep your distance. Slow down, please.
Any first responders involved in any of the accidents?
So, one of the MedStar ambulances that was responding to the scene, once they got on scene, was involved in a minor crash. They were hit by another vehicle. Thankfully, the crew members were fine. The driver of the other vehicle was fine. But that also is a reminder that no vehicle is exempt from having a potential incident in this kind of weather. So, also make sure that if you could, and there's going to be more over the next weekend, we really need to reemphasize for people to give the first responders plenty of room when they're working on those crash scenes to prevent that kind of tragedy.
What community center is family supposed to be headed to?
We have a Riverside Community Center, which is located on the 3700 East Belknap, which is close by the location. We're asking all our media friends to please keep those families
They're in the cup holder. They're over here in the cup holder.
What?
They're in here. They're here.
These departments were able to get as many people off this scene to area hospitals, to areas to be protected, was amazing. The painful part's going to be the next day as we untangle all of this to kind of see what may have happened that we weren't able to find out. But at this point, anybody who was a high priority patient or even a low priority patient has been assessed. Those that needed to go to the hospital have been to the hospital. Many people chose not to, and that's fine. They went to the reunification center. But the fact that these agencies were able to get that many people extricated from cars to hospitals into safe environments is pretty amazing. So kudos to everybody who was involved.
Thank you, everyone.
We will
Stay warm.
We will have something a little more formal later this afternoon when we get some more details, and we'll make sure you guys all get the